Hey, what's up, guys? Count Chocula here. I'm back on the DC Universe Online test server, and I'm going to bring you some more coverage of the armories that are part of Game Update 33. Now, I've been getting quite a few questions regarding some of the details of the armories. Now, the developers did have a live stream, but it seems like a lot of people didn't catch that live stream, and they still have some questions and are a little confused about exactly how armories work. Now, I have previously deleted all of my armories out of all of my bases on the test server, so I'm kind of starting fresh here. But as you can see, I had 5 previous builds, and even though you delete the armories, I shouldn't say delete the armories, even though you remove the armories from your bases, it still keeps your previous builds. You just can't use them in game. You can't activate them by holding L2, R2, because it'll say the build is not associated with an armory. But it does save your builds in your generator list. So I am on the new PvP gear. As you can see, there's a list of previous builds. I go up to an empty armory, and there's a list of the previous builds. Now, obviously, when you're doing this for the first time, you're not gonna have a list of previous builds. You're just gonna be able to imprint right away. But that's not how it works if you have previous builds. So as you can see, I've got PvP DPS, PvP Style, Frozen Fury, and I have PvE LexCore, and then I have one called Build 5, just a random style. So I'll go ahead and imprint my PvP DPS, which is basically the same build that is current on my character. So that takes care of that. So I can go over to my second armory here. And what I'll actually have to do is swap out my gear. And like I said, I just picked a random tier 2 PvE style, just something simple to get, just for purposes of demonstrating the armories. And I won't even put the entire gear set on. There we go. I still have the PvP head on. Let's go into the list here. And as you can see, now I only have 4 previous builds because the last one I've got ahead and activated. I went ahead and reactivated that build in that first armory. So I've still got these just random builds. So it's still asking me to select a build for this armory. I'm not allowed to just imprint what I'm wearing onto this armory when you have previous builds. So I'll go ahead and just put build 5 in there, which was a random style. I just did that. And now I can imprint. I can go ahead and imprint over my current build that I have on. So let's go back in there and let's go ahead and imprint it in there. And there we go. That is the current build that I actually physically have on my character. Now, kind of an interesting thing, I'm gonna put a new name for this build, but an interesting thing I ran across is you can't, as of right now, I don't know if this is intentional or not, or it's a bug, I'm not sure, you can't name the build after a style that's used in the game. Like I just try to name it LexCore, because it's the tier 2 LexCore style, and it won't let me. It says invalid build name. So I've just put tier 2 PvP, or I'm sorry, tier 2 PvE. Just assign it a random icon. Doesn't really matter. So, like I said earlier, one of the questions I've been getting is what happens when you delete gear or try to delete gear that's part of an armory build. So let's go into our armory here. Actually, I'm going to go into my inventory screen first, and let's take the hands off. We'll just do something simple for demonstration purposes. Let's try to delete that piece of gear. Now remember, that was part of our last imprint for our tier 2 PvE gear. And it says this item is used in an armory build. Do you wish to continue to delete this piece. So it does give you a warning, so there's really not any excuse for deleting pieces of armor that are part of your armory build, because it does give you an extra warning. But I'm going to go ahead and delete it and see what happens. So as you can see, the hands are gone. They are no longer in my inventory. They're not my bank or anything like that. So let's go and see what it did to the imprint of the Tier 2 PvE Armory build. And as you can see, well, I wanted to check, before I do that, I want to check the stats. And as you can see, it went ahead and deleted it out of the Armory build as well. So I'm going to go ahead and activate it, make sure everything's working right, and make sure that the stats are all the same. I was checking out the defense stat. So let's go in and see what the stats are, and the stats are the same. So no bugs there. Everything's working fine. So that kind of answers that question. Once you delete a piece of armor that's part of an imprint build in an armory, it's going to delete it from that imprint as well. So one of the other big questions I've been getting is kind of revolves around how armories work, but people want to know exactly where you can keep your gear, and when you do activate an armory build, does it actually physically pull the gear from that location that you keep it in to your character? And I was like, well, let's try it. Let's get on here and try it. So I'm going to warp to the Hall of Doom. Let's go over to the bank. Now I know the answer to the question, but I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate it here on the video. Let's put all of our PvP gear that is part of our PvP DPS armory build that I have set up. Let's go ahead and just put it over in the bank. Now I'm still wearing the headpiece, but it doesn't really matter. This is just for demonstration purposes. So now everything in Armory, the first Armory that I imprinted, is currently in my bank. So I'm hoping I picked the right base here. Pretty sure it's base 4. I can't remember. I didn't name them. I just named them base 1, 2, 3, 4 for the test server. I didn't really come up with names or anything. So let's go back over here. And I'm pretty sure they demonstrated this in the live stream. So as you can see, I'm still in my LexCorp gear here. So let's go over to the build, and yes, it's still part of the armory. And let's go ahead and activate it. We can hit L2, R2. And we hit right on the D-pad. And there we go. It changes over to the PvP gear. So the big question is, what happened to the LexCorp gear that I had on? So let's go back to the Hall of Doom. And we're back in the bank area of the Hall of Doom here. And let's go check our bank, and this is going to answer the question. And as you can see, the LexCorp gear that I just changed out of by using the armory to put on my PvP gear has swap places in the bank with the PvP gear. So that kind of answers that question. So yes, people will be maxing out their bank spots for their different armory builds. So anyway, guys, that's part 1. I answered a few questions. I plan on making some more videos to answer some more questions that I'm getting. In the meantime, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I will talk to you later.